When I first met Levi, that very first day, Levi was the most terrified dog I had ever met. And he got out of the car and he was wearing two harnesses and two leashes. And the foster was very, very clear on the fact that if I let go of this dog, we're not getting him back. Like, he came with a story, that's for sure. And one of the things that I know the foster was uncomfortable with was this idea that I wasn't going to house Levi in my home, but instead put him in the kennel. And I understand the emotional response around that, because when we have to trap a dog that's been out running, we have this sense of, oh, I don't want them to feel trapped again. I want them to feel like, mi casa is su casa, and we want them to feel comfortable. We want to give them all of this space. And right off the bat, because this dog was so afraid of people, I was like, the last thing this dog wants is to hang out in a house with people, right? Not to mention the advantage that Levi had, which was he was a dog's dog. Like, he loved the other dogs. He loved playing with the other dogs. He loved being with the other dogs. And so I was like, he would rather stay in a space that was filled with dogs, not with people. But this idea that that upset her was this idea that I wasn't going to create a comfy, home-like space for him, like creating this home-like environment for him to feel safe. And it took some time. And then long story short, I ended up just keeping Levi. Like, Levi became my dog. So it didn't really matter, but they kind of fought me on this a little bit, because they were like, we need him to feel comfortable in a home because we want to adopt him. Fair point. But I was like, it's not really about the space. It's more about the people. And that's what I'm going to explain today. The number one thing that you can do to make your dog feel safe. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hello, and welcome to Beyond Obedience. It's Tracy. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. Listen, starting off strong with a listen. If you are enjoying these podcast episodes, can you do me a favor and share it? Share it with your dog-loving friend. Share it with someone in your life where you're like, hey, if you're like me and you want to learn more about how to see the world through the dog's eyes, how to understand our dog's behavior, how can we show up to be what our dogs need us to be so that they can live their best life. That's what this podcast is about. I'm really passionate about getting more and more people to join and to listen in. Because I know that once you start to get this, it will infuse into all other avenues of your life with your dog. It makes living with your dog easier. If you're someone who also likes doing obedience, it'll make obedience easier. I know I'm called Beyond Obedience, but I'm telling you, it will make obedience easier if you understand this, if you start to really embrace this. It's going to make everything in your life easier. And who doesn't like ease? I don't know. Everybody does. So do me a favor, share this out with your friends. Let them know that we're here, that the podcast exists. They can hang out with us. It'll be fun. You and I and your friends. Why not? It'll be a great time. All right, let's get into this topic, because if someone were to ask me, what's the number one thing you can do to help your dog feel safe? My first thought was like, okay, well, creating a calm or like a comfort zone. I've talked about all of these things before, but if I were to summarize it, if I had to summarize it into one thing, I'd have to go with the the best thing, the most important thing that you can do is honestly being a calm, confident, and consistent leader. There it is. There it is. You have to be a calm, confident, consistent leader. There's that leadership word again. I'm saying it with pride. If you have been someone was told leadership is bad, if someone mentions leadership, it means dominance, force. Like, no, it doesn't. Come on. Like, I'm rolling my eyes. If you could see me, I'm rolling my eyes. It does not. I don't know why people have decided that leadership is a bad word. It's not a bad word, and probably the number one thing that you can do is to show up consistently in a calm, confident manner and be the leader that your dog needs to be. And for me, honestly, leadership means, sometimes it means go first. Like, leaders go first. They do it first. And I know last episode we talked a lot about the idea of be what you want your dog to be, this idea of not letting our dog's behavior influence our behavior, but showing up in a way where we are calm and confident, even if the situation is uncertain, even if there's something happening where you're going, oh shoot, that's not good. You still have to be calm and confident. We need to show up that way. Your energy and your actions, they are setting the tone for how your dog feels and how they behave. That's a given. So if you're a hot mess, preach. Me too. If you're a hot mess, join my club. We're doing it together. But, we have to recognize that and be like, what do I need to be to make this better for my dog? It's funny. There's training terms out there that talk about being the center of your dog's world. Like, you want your dog to think that you're the source of all good things. Right? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard anyone say that? You want to be the source of all good things, be the center of your dog's world. And while I do agree with that, that's what I choose to do. Being the center of your dog's world isn't about just providing food and water and being a Pez dispenser of treats. That's not what being the center of their world also means showing up in a calm and confident way. It means being the source of things that are fun, like adventures and stuff like that. But it starts with that leadership piece. You can't skip it. That's what I'm saying. Right? You're not just a provider. You're not just you're not just the provider. I know so many of my friends are like, sometimes I just feel like a Pez dispenser, just doling out the treats. And I get it. And I'm going to say this now again, I'm not saying not to use treats or not to use food. That's not what this is about. What I'm saying is you shouldn't feel like your relationship is based on the fact that you're carrying treats in your pocket, right? It should be about more than that, okay? But dogs start to feel the safest when their leader, the person that they care the most about, the human in their life that's showing them all the good things, is predictable and trustworthy, right? That's what that means. Why does that work? Why is that important? I've mentioned this before. I'm going to say it again. Dogs thrive on predictability, right? They're creatures of patterns, of predictability, right? So making sure that we're showing up predictably, we ourselves show up predictably. We're not a hot mess showing up all the time. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're not, sometimes we're stressed, sometimes we're not. Being able to show up for our dogs in a way that is predictable will allow them to relax and feel more secure, right? Because they know what you're about. They can read you better when you're predictable, right? Calm leadership reduces or eases anxiety, right? As I mentioned, we mentioned this last time, that dogs are incredibly sensitive to our emotions, right? So when we can remain calm, it signals just safety and stability. right? Calm confidence helps your dog feel safe. I've used this example before. I don't know. It wasn't my example. I obviously heard it from someone else. And that's the problem with hashtag menopause. It's my other hashtags that are in all of my podcasts now. Hashtag menopause. I don't know where I got this from, but I've heard it before. And I want to share it because I think it is honestly the perfect example of leadership and calm confidence is the idea of the paramedic, right? Imagine, if you will, you're in a horrible car accident and your first responders come to the scene and they see you and you don't know what's happened. You're like, your car's flipped over, you're in shock. The world is literally upside down for you right now. You don't know what's going on. And you have your first responder shows up and they take your hand and they say to you, "You're good. You're fine. We've got you. Don't worry." You're going to immediately start to feel better. These first responders are trained to do that. Their first job is to make sure that you're okay. We've got you, right? That's what's going to ease your panic. But imagine, if you will, if a first responder first day on the job, they came up and they were like, "Oh my God, this looks terrible. There is blood everywhere." Right? If they say things to you like, "How are you not screaming in pain?" That's like, can you imagine if that's what they did? How would you feel in that moment? It's the same sort of thing. We need to be able to show up in a way that eases that anxiety. And dogs are naturally going to look to you for guidance, right? When you start showing up and giving that guidance, they're going to start to look for you for guidance. They're going to look to you for their emotional response. And that's kind of the work that we do inside the Fearful Dog program, is we talk about this idea of constantly working towards being being what the dogs look to. If you show up in a way every time, in this predictably and calm and confident, when your dog has the "oh my gosh, I'm going to die" moment, instead of freaking out, they're going to look to you for that guidance, and they're going to seek that from your emotional response. And if you're standing there looking at them going, "Dude, you're good. I got you." They're going to feel that ease. But if instead you're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, everything," and you're freaking out, they're going to freak out. Right? So that predictability in your emotional state is going to actually help build the trust that you need. Okay? The other thing that we need in order to be a calm and consistent leader, besides predictability, is we need some clear communication, right? We need some clear communication. And here's the thing that you need to understand. Communication there's two forms of communication when it comes to dogs, right? There is our humansville communication, the one that we set out, the obedience aspect of it, where we teach them English as a second language. That is part of the communication. It's one half of the communication. The other half of the communication is actually canine communication. It's you understanding them. It's you understanding their body language, their energy, their tone. The thing is that you have to be fluid in both, right? You can't just be like, "I'm just practicing obedience and you need to understand me." You need to be fluid in both forms of communication in order for the communication to be crystal clear. And that communication strengthens your bond and builds trust. But you got to have both. Don't just work on one. Okay? And then finally, the last thing that I want to say about how to be a calm and consistent leader is it comes from a sense of knowing, right? This understanding and knowing of what needs to be done, right? When you know what to do, you avoid reacting. You're able to respond to the situation rather than react to it, right? So, for example, if you have a fear reactive dog and you're out on a walk, what are you going to do when an off leash dog approaches? Not if, I should say that. It's not if. I'd love to say that it's if. I would love to be at a point in my life where I'd be like, if on the odd chance that an off leash dog approaches you. But I've been in this game a long, long time. And I'll tell you, it's not if, it's when. An off leash dog is going to approach you, right? There's no like, oh my gosh, you can't go through life going, I hope it doesn't happen. It's going to happen. So you need to have a knowing of what to do. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We talk about this a lot as well in the Fearful Dog. We talk about the idea, I call it the Build Your Brave protocols. You need to have a sense of what it is that you're going to do. And we also need to let your dog know about what those Build Your Brave protocols are going to be. For example, for me personally, I never let any dogs approach my dogs, whether they're on leash or off leash. So my dogs know to go behind me, right? I see a dog coming, I'm going to put it behind me. I'm going to put myself in between that dog that's approaching and put my dogs behind me. Now, does it always work out that way? No. Depends on the dog that's coming at me, depends on who I'm walking, how many dogs I'm walking, what are the dogs that I'm walking. There's a lot of different variables that happen. But here's what I know. I know that I need to be a part of that conversation. And I know I'm not letting that dog come near my dogs. I know that. That is my knowing. Right? So when a dog is approaching me, and I don't care what size it is, am I more nervous maybe if it's a bigger dog? Absolutely. But the knowing is if I see an off-leash dog running at me, I'm going to get ready and I'm going to put my dogs behind me and I'm going to start to make the effort to keep that dog away from me. It usually starts with a stomp and like a no, right? Whatever. But that's how that starts. But that's my knowing. So I don't sit there and walk my dog, see an off-leash dog and go, oh shoot, there's a dog coming. What am I going to do? Okay. I don't have that. I'm like, I know I'm going to get in between that. I know I'm going to send that dog away, whatever I need to do. I've had to take the end of my leash, right? And do like almost like a helicopter thing in front of us to keep dogs away from me. That's been a thing that I've done, right? So, I mean, what happened afterwards has changed in every situation, but the knowing was that dog's not coming near me. The dog's not coming near me, right? I have a knowing, and the confidence comes from that knowing. So you need to know what do you want to do? What do you want the dogs to do? Right? And then can your dogs do it? Right? After we start to do this is why I make a very strong point about, when people go through the Fearful Dog program, going through the Build Your Brave protocols, I want you to actually write it out. Again, this isn't protocol. It's going to go exactly as planned, but you need to know what it is. What are you going to do? Your dog's afraid of people. What are you going to do when you have people come over to your house? What are you going to do? You need to know. Doorbell rings unexpectedly. What do? Go into action. Right away. And your dog, believe it or not, if you have this knowing, you're going to admit this confidence and this leadership quality where your dog's gonna be like, she's got this. She's got this under control. I don't have to worry. Right? So if you're sitting back going, I don't have any Build Your Brave protocols. I haven't even thought about it. That would be where I'd start. Go through all the things that could possibly go wrong, the things that worry you. What are you lying in bed at night worrying about? Gosh, I hope that dog doesn't come. Gosh, I hope when I have my company over this weekend that my dog behaves well. Don't wish it. Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down, write it down. What am I worried about? We were just talking last week. Somebody was saying that, they're struggling with their dog and their daughter-in-law's cat, and they were going to be coming, or she was going there. I can't remember, but something was going to happen where the cat and the dog were going to be together. And I was like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Like, we're not going to let those, we're going to have to, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to step up. We're not going to let the dog and the cat, interact, because safety first, all this stuff. Like, we sat down and went through, like, this is what we're going to do. You got to know what you got to do. So what are the things? That's your first thing. What are the things that are worrying you? What are the problems? What are the triggers? Whatever you want to call it. People, like, in the dog training world will call it triggers. What are your dog triggers? But really, it's realistically, what are the things you're worried about? What are you worried about when you go to bed at night? What are you worried about? What are you thinking about when it comes to your dog? Write those down and start to come up with a protocol. What am I going to do? And then see if your dog can do it. We don't just leave that to chance, right? When I talk about this idea of off-leash dogs coming to me, I always get in between. My dogs have to go behind me. Many people ask me this: how did you teach the dog to go behind you? Well, if your dog can't go behind you when there's no trigger or dog coming, then that would be where I would start. I'd start getting the dog used to going behind me. Right? My dogs always know I always pass a leash behind my back. I never pass a leash in front of me. I always pass the leash behind my back. So my dogs innately know that if I'm going to move them, they're going to go behind me. That happens all the time on our walks. So it doesn't change any if I see an off-leash dog coming. I'm going to move the leash behind me and they're going to be behind me. Let's recap, shall we? Because I talked a lot and I'm not even sure where I went with that. Let's recap a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning. All right. The number one thing that you can do to help your dog feel safe is to be a calm, confident, and consistent leader. Okay. Leadership starts with you. You want to be be what you want the dog to be. You want to be predictable. You want to have clear communication, both dog communication and obedience, right? Don't just stick with one. You got to know both. You got to know what to do. You got to have that build your brave protocols happening. If you need help with that, if you are someone who's like, I would like to get in on that build your brave stuff, Tracy, be sure to join us over in the Fearful Dog. That is open to you. You are more than welcome. The Fearful Dog is a great program, comes with an online program and monthly coaching calls for our students in the community. Lots and lots and lots of support there. If you're looking to do that, you can do that at beyondobedience.ca/fearless. That's one way that you can get some help. Or if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not really sure, I need a little bit of help, let's sit down and talk about how you can become a calm and consistent leader by booking a call with me. I know I keep mentioning this, but I'm so excited about this. This took me a while to get this set up, but now you can book a one-on-one Zoom call with me where we sit down and we can go over all of this. I can help you with all of this. You tell me a little bit about you and your dog, your struggles, and we're going to sit down. We're going to come up with a plan. You and me, we can do that together. You can do that by booking your calm, confident coaching call with me at beyondobedience.ca/session. Two ways that you can work with me. You can either join our online community, right? Our Fearful Dog student community. You can join that, get the program, go through that, get all the support and help you need on a monthly basis. Or if you're looking for a little more one-on-one action, book that Zoom call with me. We can get down to it. I love hanging out with you, not only on those calls, but here on the podcast. As always, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only, and it's not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.